with my mic on mute. I can't believe it. Whoa, what a waste. Okay, well, let me just try to summarize what I was saying before. I was speaking about family units and not having that anymore. And I was saying that it's kind of sad that, especially, I see it a lot with people who migrate, like people who migrate from the Caribbean, from Jamaica, wherever it is. Once they come here, they develop a life, and half of the time, we move to different states, and because of that, the whole family unit and just that family culture is non-existent. Like, it might start out a little bit, but then as time progresses, that doesn't exist anymore. Everybody live their own life in their own corner of the world, and that's they just continue life like that. So for me, the question is that something important to people anymore? Is that nobody cares about that anymore? Actually having your children know who their family members, the good ones, not the bad ones. If they're traumatic and you have bad experience with them, that's understandable. So it's like nobody cares about, your kids knowing your cousins, your kids knowing probably who your aunt is, or just having that experience to hear family stories, hear about what you used to do, what you used to do when you're younger, seeing family pictures, or even if like back then, for let's say that experience was traumatic for you, how do we create a way to make this little bit more peaceful for them, and a bit peaceful, and allow them to actually want that? Because if you don't want that, if you don't show them that, of course they're not gonna want that either. So it's like, how do we create that space? How do we get that balance? How do we make it so that it's easier for them to do, and without the trauma, without the negativity, and to understand that yes, you can have family, but if that family is not good for you, you can let them go. But for the ones that are, that doesn't mean that you have to let go all of them, right? You can build a bond with the ones who want you, because that's my motto now. Even with friends, family, it's I want who wants me, hang around who wants to hang around with me. But I do think there's something to be said about having like actual family unit, and somewhere for your children to look back and say, hey, this is where my mom, used to do this. You can tell them stories about, well, now we can tell them stories about what we used to do when we were younger. But for them, when they grow up, some of them probably won't have that cousin stories that we have, because a lot of us used to actually live with cousins, used to hang around them all the time. Now, I don't know if being in a bigger country makes it harder, that everybody is just spread out. So literally everybody live their own life, and there's like no unit at all. And if it is, it's just for a short period of time. And I feel like the more we spread out, the more we're separated and not connected, is the more our offsprings, like the generations off of us, will become lost, because they don't know anything about where they're coming from. As much as we want to pretend that they're going to know anything about where they're coming from, they won't. They'll only know you. And for the ones who have like grandparents that were in their life, great grands that are in their life, but how many people that actually can say, I know my great grandmother? Yeah, most of us can't say that. We don't know where your grandmother come from. Most of us barely even know the story of our grandparents. So think about that, and then think about now with our children. Some of them now barely even know the story of them grandparents, and if they do, it's not much. It's okay, our grandparents are here. We don't know. We don't know nothing about them. So our children definitely don't know nothing about them. When they get older and have kids, they won't have much to tell them but what they see now from their parents, and that's it. And it's even worse when you're not, let's say you're migrant, you're not like fully American. So our children will know nothing about what our culture is at all. So we can't get mad at them when they get older and they don't even, them can't even recognize as where you're from. All I can say is, it's in my blood. That's it. Everything else, they can't recognize it because they know nothing about the culture. They're not exposed to it. So we can't be mad at them for saying, hey, I just have it in my blood. That's it. Half of them are like fully American. Just call them American and call it a day. They can say they're Jamaican because their parents are from Trinidad or whatever because of bloodline, but culturally, they're eventually going to be American. And that, I think that's a direct that is directly related to the fact that once we come here, or for any group of people, once you come here, most of the time, whatever you had, I feel like we just want to start over new. We'll kind of cut off that completely, like what we used to be, where we're coming from. We push that under the rug completely and just forget about it. So when they get older, it's just like that's non-existent. Like they don't know that anymore. They don't know anything about that. They don't share that. They don't acknowledge that. So when we separate from our family unit, move our children from all of that, they'll be lost eventually in the future. Like, where do we come from? Our probably like, great grandkids. They'll be looking back like, what? Like, who am I? Where I come from? Because a lot of things will pass on from generation to generation. I feel like it would be so much better if some of the things that happen, even if it's not written down, not on like a digital platform, but written down physically to pass down to the younger generations. There's a lot of things that we could have avoided, and a lot of things our children will be able to avoid if we record those things and share it with them to say, hey, let's say our grandchildren now, they can look back on something that you as a parent wrote and say, hey, oh, so my great grandmother went through this and this is what happened. And maybe the line of women or men in my family have this history. So let me do something different to not go down that road or try to change it or just create tools to deal with this type of thing. Because, generational trauma is real. And there's a lot of things that we pass down, but, we ignore. So things like that. And having your kids, if it's a safe, healthy environment, having them around like the older generation or cousins and things like that, they can learn things about their family that they didn't know. They can learn the importance of family and just lots of family story and stuff that you probably aren't able to tell them, but they can learn things about the family that way, which is there's a lot to be said from that. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, back. All right, I had to turn off some noise. So, yeah, so with that said, I just wanted to know if anyone else have ever thought about that. Like, am I the only one out here that actually thinks about the fact that 5, 10, let's say 50 years from now, we will have no family unit. Like we're all just creating kids, and then eventually we're going to like not be in this world, and that's it. Like we will be non-existent. They'll know nothing about us. They'll just have kids, and then if our kids don't have kids, then we will just have been a thing of the past. We would have been non-existent when you really think about it. So I think about things like that. I think about ways where, if let's say you don't have that family connection, but how we can, yeah, I think about ways where I could create space for them to hang out with other family members or their younger cousins to just get to know them sometimes. But I must say that in order for something like that to happen, they would also have to want it. So I understand that as well. Like they would also have to want it. So it can't be one person doing it. So me saying this is not me ignoring the fact that, you know, some people don't want that. And not everyone wants to go push up in other people. So it's like that's why I mentioned earlier. Not sure if that's when my mic was muted, but that's why I mentioned earlier. It's wanting who wants you, being present for the people who want you there, not forcing yourself for anyone, but being present for the ones who want you there. And those are baby steps. You can start small with those small things, and that could build up to something else, because you never know who it will inspire. You never know who will also want to do the same thing. But it's baby steps and having your boundaries while you're doing it as well, and understanding that because we were so separated at one point, that if that's the case, that now trying to create that unit again, it's going to take like baby steps, little small changes that can help to create that. And if you're someone who doesn't care about that, don't care about family youth, and probably not having that type of connection probably doesn't even bother you, that's understandable. Then maybe this isn't for you, like I get it, it's understandable, this is not for you. But if you are and you'd want to try something like that, definitely think about baby steps, and thinking about whenever events are being kept, maybe you can show up. Maybe you can show up with the kids, see if you like the energy, see if you like the vibe. Try it out only if it works for you, and see what happens. And let's say you've gone no contact with them and you don't want to be around. Maybe you don't want to around them at all. You can still teach them about your family. You can, well, not all of them. Maybe you don't want to remember all of them, but you can teach them on one about the ones that did matter. You know, I think in our family structure, I don't know if this is a Caribbean thing, Jamaican, American, Black, whatever it is. There's a lot of family secrets, and I think because there's a lot of family secrets, we have a lot of things that keep repeating itself. If we eliminate some of those secrets, or maybe you don't want to share them right away, but create space for when your kids get older that you can talk about certain things, we can eliminate history repeating itself. We can try to do things differently. We can try to prevent some of these things from happening. Because me personally, like, I love having family around me. I love having the kids know their family. It's, that's something important to me. But when we get exhausted or there's conflict, it's not the solution to the conflict isn't I won't speak to you forever. It's right now, may I bruise you until we can figure out a way how to fix this and move forward. But for right now, may I bruise you, we're gonna relax, and then we'll come back to the drawing board and try to figure this out. You know, so that's a thought. That's a thought as well. I also like to have them create memories because nothing in life lasts forever. So even when they do hang out, I have them live in the moment. Like, for example, when they hang out, I am not a fan. Depending on the time, place, maybe with balance. But I am not a fan of being on the tablet all the time when them hang out. Like, cause my son know when he's on the tablet, zoned in and zoned out of everything that's going on around. So it's important to me that you're on the tab. Let's say not on the tablet, but you have your family members over. Instead of having them all be playing on tablet, something that they can do online when they're not around each other, I prefer to have them play together. And even if they're going to do the tablet, it's probably like after. So they play together first, and then after they play together, then I will say, all right, go ahead. Only can go hang out now. Only can probably play some games on the tablet. But for the most part, having them play together is very important. Having them play together, just do stuff like what we used to do. Because I can still remember playing outside and just having them type of fun day with my cousins and stuff. And I expressed to my son, when they're over or when you're over there, when you hang out with your cousins, it's important to be present. When you're on the game, you can't be present because you're focused on the game and the challenges of the game. So it's important to be present right in front of them, and being present with them is playing with them, playing physical games, playing outside, talking to them, communicating, learning regular kid stuff from some other children other than your sister. So that is important. So it's, you have to be intentional with things like that. And that's something that I would like to see increase, become, to be honest, even online and stuff like that. Many of you see that often. And I feel like in the day and age that we are now, the family unit is in shambles, because what's happening is that our generation, or probably even the younger ones, are now coming out about the trauma, right, that they've had with family. So, because all the conversation is about the bad, the negative, and the trauma that happens with family, which nothing isn't wrong with that. It's good that we're having those conversations. It's good that we're having those conversations. It's good that that's coming up. But at what point do we also implement the conversation on how to change this, how to not allow this to happen again, how to do things differently, and how to still have some connection with the good family. How to have those conversations, or where are the people who do have good family units? Like, we need some conversation from those to show that for the ones who have good family units, it counts for something, and it exists. Because right now, when you look online or in social media, you would believe that that does not exist at all. You would believe that that is non-existent. Nobody Family unit isn't a thing anymore. Nobody hangs out with family anymore or anything like that. So that's something that we have to look at. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, so that's something that that's why I brought up this topic, because even with my channel and so, it's a lot of, well, it's supposed to be a lot of family oriented stuff. And I was like, let me bring up this topic and see if anyone else has any feelings about it, and what do you guys think about it, or is anyone else even doesn't, or do you just not care about family? Like, all right, I cut my family off, I don't want to be around them, I don't care about family unit. Is that where you stand, or are you one of the family warriors, the family unit warriors, like how I can be sometimes? And even that can be exhausting. That's a whole different topic. Like, trying to be the family unit, the glue of the family, can be quite exhausting, and eventually people give up, and I can understand that as well. But it's like, even though that exists, we can acknowledge that and still praise the ones who have that, and try to have that with the ones who are healthy and who's willing to have, that type of conversation. So, if you're watching the replay of this, you can definitely drop in the comment section, what do you think about that? How does, when you think about family and just not your immediate family, do you acknowledge extended family? Do you think it's important for your extended family to be in your children's life? That's if you guys have a good relationship. Do you think about that and say, you know what, I would really want my extended family to my kids to know my extended family, my cousins, whoever you grew up with? Is that something that you think about sometime? So that's where this conversation came out, because I'm like, am I crazy to even think? Because with the conversation online, you would think that having a family unit is wild. Like, you would think that something like that is like non-existent and we shouldn't have it. So that's why I was like, okay, let's try to talk about this and see if anyone else feels that way. And what are you doing in your family? Like, how do you try to make your offsprings connect with their cousins, or just connect with your families overall? Hold on. I need to cut a stick. What stick for what? Go that way. I'm soon come. I'm soon almost finished. Yeah. So what are you doing to create that type of, you know, that type of environment with your children? How are you making that type of connection? So that's all I'm going to say for today. This is my first time going live. Hopefully I'll have more of these and have more conversations like this. So if you liked it, you can like the video, leave a comment, or subscribe so you can watch a little bit more. Either way, thanks for watching. And if you're watching the replay, definitely thanks for watching, and you can watch any one of my other videos. Until next time.